They called her the woman who feeds the fish. Every morning, rain or shine, she sat by the river, singing softly, scattering crumbs into the rippling water. Villagers whispered behind her back, laughing. Is she mad? Who feeds a fish every day? But what if the truth was something no one dared to believe? What if that fish wasn't just a fish, but blood, family, bound by a curse older than the village itself? This is the story of Deborah Paul, her 2 daughters born of a promise, and the river goddess who never forgets a broken vow. It's a tale of love that defied the gods, of loss that lingered beneath the waves, and of a golden fish who waited, patiently, for one true kiss to break the curse. Hey, family! Before we dive deeper into this incredible folktale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who loves African legends and emotional storytelling. Your support helps keep these timeless tales alive. Now sit back, open your heart, and let's discover why nobody knew why she always fed the fish. Until that day. Once upon a time, in a quiet village surrounded by palm trees and red earth, there lived a woman named Deborah Paul. People said she had a heart too gentle for this world. Her voice was soft like the evening wind, and her smile could calm even a crying child. Yet behind that warm smile, she carried a secret sorrow that no one could see. For 10 long years, Deborah had been married to Mr. Paul, a humble farmer whose laughter was as bright as the sunrise. They loved each other dearly, but their home was silent. No baby's cry, no tiny footsteps, no laughter echoing in the yard. Every morning, Deborah would wake before the sun. She swept the yard, cooked her husband's meal, and sat by the window, watching other women carry their babies on their backs. Sometimes she would hum softly, pretending she, too, had a baby asleep on her shoulder. But when the humming stopped, her eyes filled with tears. The village women whispered behind her back. "Poor Deborah," they would say at the stream, shaking their heads. "She's a good woman, but what is a woman without a child?" Another voice would add cruelly, "Maybe she offended the gods. 10 years, and her womb still sleeps." Deborah would hear them, and her heart would twist in pain. She never replied. She simply walked away quickly before they could see her cry. That night, as the moon rose above the river, Deborah sat outside her hut, staring at the stars. Her husband came to sit beside her, silent for a moment, then whispered, "My wife, do not cry again. We will be fine." She turned to him, eyes glistening. "Paul, I have prayed. I have visited healers. I have done everything. I feel empty inside." He sighed deeply, his rough hands trembling slightly. "Then what else can we do, my love?" Deborah looked toward the dark outline of the village river, calm, silver, and endless under the moonlight. "The river goddess," she said softly. "They say she listens to women's tears." Her husband's eyes widened in fear. "You mean the goddess of the river? That place is sacred, Deborah. People say those who go there never return the same. Please, let's wait for God's time." But Deborah shook her head. Her voice was calm, almost frighteningly so. "I must go. If I perish, then I perish. But I cannot keep living like this." Before dawn the next morning, Deborah wrapped a white cloth around her waist and filled a calabash with palm oil, cowries, and fresh white cloth. Sacred gifts for the river goddess. The world was still half asleep when she stepped out. Crickets sang their night song, and the moon hung low in the sky, painting the river silver. As Deborah approached the riverbank, the air changed. The wind grew cool, the leaves trembled slightly. She knelt on the wet sand, placed her offering before her, and whispered through trembling lips, "Oh, great goddess of the river, they call you the Queen of the Waters. Please, hear my cry. I have no child. I have been mocked. My heart is weary. Bless my womb, and I will serve you forever." For a long moment there was only silence, just the sound of water touching sand. Then, the river began to ripple, though no wind blew.
Deborah gasped. The moonlight on the water twisted, rose, and slowly shaped itself into the form of a beautiful woman, her skin glowing like silver, her hair flowing like the waves. Her eyes were deep and endless, filled with power and sorrow. When she spoke, her voice was like the sound of 100 streams whispering together. "Deborah Paul," the goddess said, "I have heard your cries for many years. You are faithful and kind. I will bless you with twin daughters, but remember this: one of them must return to serve me when she grows. If you break this promise, sorrow will visit your house." Deborah's whole body trembled. She bowed low, pressing her forehead to the ground. "Thank you, Great Mother. I will keep the promise. I swear." The river grew calm again. The moonlight faded back into water. And just like that, the goddess was gone. Deborah ran home before sunrise, her heart beating wildly. Her husband found her kneeling beside the doorway, weeping and laughing at once. "Paul," she whispered breathlessly. "She heard me. The goddess heard me." He was confused, frightened, but when months later her belly began to grow, the whole village buzzed like a market day. "Ha! Deborah is finally pregnant," people shouted. "After so many years, the gods have remembered her." Even old Mama Grace, the same woman who once mocked her, now came smiling, saying, "Ah, my daughter, patience is the key to everything. I always said it." When the time came, Deborah gave birth to twin girls. The first child came screaming into the world, strong, full of life. The second came silently, her eyes wide open, calm and glowing as if she could already see the unseen. Deborah named the first Amelia, the one who brings joy, and the second, Abigail, the one who gives peace. As the villagers danced outside, Deborah lay in her bed, holding both babies close, whispering through tears, "My gifts from the goddess, my joy and my warning." And as the moonlight slipped through the window, lighting her face, she made a silent promise she hoped she'd never have to keep. The years passed, and the Paul family became the village's picture of joy. Little Amelia and Abigail grew like flowers after the rain, inseparable, bright, and full of laughter. Amelia was the wild one. She loved to climb trees, chase butterflies, and splash in the mud until her mother shouted her name from the hut. Her laughter could scatter a cloud of sadness in a heartbeat. Abigail, on the other hand, was quiet. She moved softly, spoke gently, and carried a calm that sometimes made the old women nod and whisper, "This one has seen the spirit world before." Every morning, the twins fetched water together, their matching clay pots balanced on their heads. The villagers would smile when they saw them walking hand in hand down the red path. "You two are like one soul in two bodies," Deborah often said, her voice full of love, and a small shadow of fear. Because deep inside, she had not forgotten the goddess's words. "One of them must return to serve me." Each time Deborah looked at the river, her heart skipped a beat. She tried to avoid it, even changing where her daughters fetched water, but the river always called softly, whispering like it remembered her name. One evening, while washing cassava by the stream, Deborah froze. The reflection on the water shimmered oddly. For a brief moment, she saw the goddess's eyes staring back, calm but warning. Her hands trembled, and the cassava slipped from her grip. "No," she whispered. "Please, not now. Not ever." But the river only rippled, as if laughing. As the girls grew older, their differences became clearer. Amelia was loud and fearless, while Abigail spent hours sitting by the water, staring into it like she was listening to someone only she could hear. Sometimes Amelia teased her. "Abby, what are you always staring at? Are the fish telling you secrets?" Abigail would smile faintly, her eyes still on the water. "Maybe," she said softly. "Sometimes it feels like someone is calling me. It sounds familiar." Amelia laughed, throwing pebbles into the river. "Maybe the fish are in love with your reflection." Both girls burst into laughter, their joy so pure that even the birds seemed to join in. But that laughter carried across the water, and something beneath the surface began to stir. When the twins turned 16, beauty settled upon them like morning dew. The whole village talked about them. Men came from far and near just to watch them fetch water. Deborah's twins have become fine young women, they said. The goddess herself must have painted their faces. But the more beautiful they grew, the stronger the strange pull around the river became. Whenever Abigail stepped near it, the water would move, gently, slowly, almost like it was breathing with her. One night, she woke from sleep, sweating and trembling. She had dreamed of a woman made of water, her eyes glowing like the moon. The woman had whispered, "My child, it's time." Abigail sat up, her heart racing. She didn't understand what it meant, but she felt something deep inside, a strange sadness mixed with peace. The next morning, she told her mother about the dream. Deborah's face turned pale. Her hands froze in midair. "What did she say?" she whispered. Abigail frowned. "She said, 'It's time.' But I don't know what that means." Deborah forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "It's nothing, my daughter. Just dreams. Don't go near the river for now." But it was too late. The goddess's clock had begun to tick. A few days later, the air grew strange, heavy, like the sky was holding its breath. The twins went to the river to fetch water, laughing and chatting about an upcoming festival. Abigail hummed softly as always, her feet sinking slightly into the cool sand. Then the ground trembled. The wind howled through the palm trees. The water began to rise, slow at first, then violently, like a storm from nowhere. Amelia screamed and dropped her pot. "Abby, run!" But before they could move, a voice thundered across the water, deep, cold, and furious. "Deborah Paul, you broke your promise." The girls froze, terrified. The river swirled wildly, glowing with light. The voice boomed again, shaking the earth beneath their feet. "You took what was not yours. One of your daughters shall return to me, forever." Abigail's eyes widened in horror. "Amelia!" she cried as the water rose like a hand made of light, wrapping around her waist. She tried to run, but the current pulled harder. Amelia lunged forward, gripping her sister's hand. "No, don't take her, please." The river roared louder. Abigail's fingers slipped from Amelia's grip. With one last scream, she was pulled beneath the water, swallowed whole. Then, silence. Only the sound of a golden fish rising slowly to the surface, glimmering under the sunlight where Abigail had stood. Amelia fell to her knees, her cries echoing across the riverbank. "Abigail! Abigail, please come back." The golden fish circled near her feet, its eyes sad, almost human. And from somewhere deep in the water, a soft voice whispered, "Only true love's kiss can break the curse." Then everything went still. The air grew warm again. The birds began to sing, pretending nothing had happened. But for Amelia, nothing would ever be the same. She ran home, her feet pounding the earth, tears blinding her. Deborah was sweeping the yard when she saw her, wild-eyed, breathless. "Amelia, what is it? Where is your sister?" Amelia fell to the ground, choking on her words. "The river, the goddess. She took Abigail. She's gone." She turned into a fish. Deborah's broom fell. For a second, the world stood still. Then she screamed, a sound so deep, so broken, that even the chickens in the yard scattered. She tore her clothes, beat her chest, and fell to her knees. "Oh goddess, forgive me. Forgive my foolish heart." But the river goddess did not answer. That night, Deborah sat by the fire, silent. Her husband's face was pale as chalk. Amelia sat beside her, her eyes swollen from crying. Outside, the river shimmered faintly under the moon, calm, almost peaceful, as if nothing had happened. But every now and then, the water would ripple softly, like it was breathing, like it was waiting. And somewhere deep within its heart, a golden fish circled, patient, glowing, and bound by the promise her mother once made. From that day, the village changed. Some said the river had taken its tribute. Others whispered that Deborah's house was cursed. But for Amelia, the world had simply grown quiet, painfully quiet. Every night, she dreamed of her sister's face beneath the water, her eyes shimmering gold, her hand reaching up before vanishing into the deep. Her mother no longer spoke much. Deborah sat by the fire each evening, staring into the flames, her lips moving in silent prayers. The father, once full of laughter, now spent long hours on the farm, returning home with empty eyes. But Amelia, she couldn't stay away from the river. The same river that took her sister also called to her. It was as though the wind itself whispered, "Come." One morning, just before sunrise, Amelia carried a small basket of bread and pieces of boiled yam. Her mother called from behind, her voice weak. "Amelia, where are you going this early?" She hesitated. "To the river, Mama." Deborah turned sharply, fear flashing in her eyes. "No, don't go there again." But Amelia smiled sadly. "I won't go far. I need to see something." She walked down the path, dew wetting her feet, the air cool and still. When she reached the riverbank, she sat on the same rock where she last saw Abigail. The water looked calm, too calm. Slowly, Amelia began to hum the song she and Abigail once sang together. "Come, my sister of the river. Come, golden heart shining in the water's home. I will feed you. I will love you still. Until your heart is free. I will." Her voice trembled, soft but clear. Then, to her shock, the water rippled. A golden shape glimmered beneath the surface. Slowly, it rose. A golden fish appeared, its scales glowing like sunlight trapped in glass. It swam in slow circles, then paused in front of her. Amelia gasped. Her hands trembled. "Abigail, is that you?" The fish wagged its tail gently, as if in answer. Tears filled Amelia's eyes. "Oh, my sister," she whispered. She reached into her basket, broke a piece of yam, and tossed it into the water. The fish caught it, circling closer, its eyes, unmistakably, her sister's eyes. From that day, Amelia came every morning. Sometimes she brought yam, sometimes fruit, sometimes breadcrumbs. And each time she sang the same song. The villagers started to notice. Children whispered behind trees. "Mama Grace, look, Amelia is feeding fish again." Mama Grace squinted from afar, adjusting her wrapper. "Ah, leave her alone. Maybe she just likes fish more than people." They laughed, but Amelia didn't care. She kept coming. Her heart had found peace in that quiet ritual. Days turned to months, months to years. Amelia became known throughout the village as the woman who feeds the river fish. Some mocked her. Some pitied her. Others said she was cursed, or perhaps bewitched. But Amelia didn't explain. She didn't need to. In her heart, she knew that fish was not just a fish. It was her sister, bound by love and promise. Even after her mother grew old and her father passed away, Amelia still came every morning. Rain or shine, she was there, singing softly, whispering to the water. And each time, the golden fish appeared. Years later, a new man entered her life, Chief Odogwu, a wealthy cocoa merchant from the nearby town. He was kind, gentle, and loved Amelia's quiet strength. They married in a grand ceremony, and the villagers rejoiced, saying, "Finally, the woman who feeds fish has found joy." But even after the wedding, Amelia never stopped going to the river. Her husband noticed, and one evening as the sun sank low, he teased her with a smile. "My wife, every day you run to that river. Tell me, are you hiding gold in there?" Amelia laughed softly, her eyes far away. "No, my husband. But my heart lives there." He chuckled, shaking his head. "As long as the river doesn't decide to take you too, I have no problem." She smiled, but said nothing. The truth was something he wouldn't understand. Not yet. Sometimes when she sang, the golden fish would leap slightly from the water, splashing playfully. She would laugh through her tears, saying, "Ah, Abigail, you still have that mischievous spirit." And the fish would wag its tail, as though agreeing. That strange, tender friendship between woman and fish became part of the village's stories. Boys would whisper, "That's the witch of the river." Old Mama Grace would scold them, "You small rats. Even if she talks to fish, maybe that fish has more sense than you." And the whole market would burst into laughter. Still, Amelia kept her secret, that her laughter by the river was her way of keeping her sister's soul alive. Then one day, when the sky burned bright with afternoon sun, something unexpected happened. Two strangers were traveling down the river. Wesley, a young trader with bright eyes and a gentle heart, and his friend Joshua, a jolly man who laughed at everything. They were heading to the next town by canoe, singing as they paddled. But as they reached the middle of the river, dark clouds rolled in without warning. The wind howled. The water rose. Wesley shouted, "Joshua! The storm, paddle faster." Before they could reach the shore, lightning cracked across the sky. The river erupted, tossing their boat like a leaf in the wind. Amelia was sitting by the riverbank, humming softly, when she heard the cries for help. Her heart stopped. She jumped to her feet, shouting, "Help! Help them! Somebody!" But no one was nearby. Without thinking, she ran closer, tears already filling her eyes. Then, from the deep, the golden fish shot out like lightning. It dove beneath the waves, faster than anything human could swim. Its golden body flashed between the currents. Within moments, it reached Wesley, who was gasping, his arms flailing. The fish nudged him upward with surprising strength, pushing him toward the surface. Then it turned back for Joshua. But he was gone. Amelia ran into the shallow water, grabbed Wesley's hand, and pulled him to shore. He collapsed, coughing, shivering. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was that golden fish circling near him, its eyes glowing softly. He blinked, dazed. "That fish, it saved me." Amelia nodded, tears still falling. "Yes, she saved you." Wesley looked again, confused but awed. "That fish looked at me, as if it understood." Amelia smiled sadly. "You have no idea how special she is." That night, while the villagers mourned Joshua, Wesley couldn't sleep. He kept seeing the golden fish in his mind. Her eyes, her grace, the way she lingered as if trying to say something. The next morning, he returned to the river with a small basket of flowers. Amelia was already there. "You came back," she said softly, surprised. "I couldn't stop thinking about that fish," he replied, kneeling by the water. He placed the flowers gently on the surface and whispered, "Thank you." Amelia's smile was faint but full of warmth. "She understands, you know, even if she cannot speak." From that day, Wesley came back every morning. Sometimes he brought food, sometimes flowers, sometimes he just sat beside Amelia, watching the water. And though the villagers whispered again, saying he was bewitched, saying she was mad, neither of them cared. Something deeper than words had begun between them. And beneath the rippling surface, the golden fish circled, watching, listening, waiting. The days rolled by like quiet waves, and Wesley became part of the village rhythm. Each morning he came to the river with that same calm smile, sometimes carrying bread, sometimes flowers, sometimes nothing at all, just his thoughts. The villagers had grown used to it. When they saw him walking down the red path, they would whisper, "Ah, there goes the stranger who talks to a fish." Some laughed, some pitied him, and others shook their heads in wonder. Old Mama Grace would wave her hand dismissively and say, "Let the man love what he loves. Maybe that fish has more sense than the rest of us." And everyone would laugh. But what no one knew was that love, strange, soft, and sincere, was growing in the silence between Wesley and the river. He didn't just come for curiosity anymore. He came because that golden fish made him feel peace, the kind of peace that only truth and mystery can give. And though he didn't understand why, his heart whispered that there was something human in those shimmering eyes. One golden evening, when the sun melted into the horizon, Wesley stood by the water alone. Amelia had gone home early, but he stayed, drawn by something he couldn't explain. The water was calm, glowing under the orange sky. Slowly, the golden fish appeared, rising close to the surface. Wesley knelt down, speaking softly as though afraid to break the spell. "If only you could talk," he said, his voice gentle. "If only you could tell me who you really are." The fish swam closer, circling slowly, eyes fixed on him. Deep, emotional, human. He smiled sadly. "You saved my life. I wish I could thank you properly. I wish I could see who you truly are." He reached out his hand. The fish brushed against his fingers, warm, almost alive like skin. A strange feeling stirred inside him. Not fear, not confusion, but connection. He leaned forward, whispering, "Whoever you are, thank you." Then, without thinking, he pressed his lips gently to the top of her golden head. In that moment, the world stopped. The wind vanished. The air trembled. The river began to glow, first faintly, then with blinding light. Wesley stumbled backward, covering his eyes as the voice of the river goddess filled the air, deep, powerful, and echoing through the trees. "Abigail, my child, the curse is broken. True love has spoken, and the heart of the river is free." The light from the water swirled upward in golden spirals, rising higher and higher until it exploded in a shower of mist and song. When the glow faded, standing on the riverbank, dripping, radiant, alive, was a young woman with golden hair that shimmered like sunlight on water. Her eyes, those same calm, gentle eyes, looked straight at Wesley. He froze, speechless. You're the fish," he whispered, his voice trembling. The girl smiled softly. Tears welled in her eyes. "Yes," she said. "I am Abigail, the sister of Amelia. You have freed me." For a long moment, Wesley could not speak. His heart pounded in his chest. He stepped closer, touching her arm, as if afraid she would vanish again. "You're real," he breathed. "You're really here." Abigail nodded, her tears falling freely. "Thanks to you." Far away, Amelia was cooking supper when she saw a strange light flash over the river. She dropped her ladle and ran. Her heart raced as she reached the riverbank, and when she saw her sister standing there, alive, glowing in the sunset, she screamed, "Abigail!" The two sisters ran to each other, falling into a long, trembling embrace. They wept, years of pain, guilt, and longing washing away in their tears. The villagers, hearing the cries and seeing the glow, came rushing to the river. They gasped as they saw the two sisters together. "It's true," one man shouted. "The fish girl has turned back into a woman." Mama Grace clutched her wrapper, shaking her head. "Ah, wonders shall never end." Another woman whispered, "So she wasn't crazy after all. The fish really was her sister." Soon the whole village was alive with laughter, drums, and disbelief. Children danced, old men clapped, and women sang songs of joy. The river sparkled as though it, too, was smiling. That night, under the stars, Wesley sat beside Abigail and Amelia near the fire. He told the villagers everything, how he met the golden fish, how it saved his life, and how he had come to love it without even knowing it was human. The elders listened quietly, nodding. One of them said softly, "This is why we must never mock another's faith. The heart knows what the eyes cannot see." Wesley turned to Abigail. "When I looked into your eyes, even as a fish, I felt something I can't explain." Abigail smiled, her voice trembling. "And when you kissed me, I felt alive for the first time in years." Amelia laughed through her tears. So this is how the goddess decided to end the story, not with sorrow, but with love. A few weeks later, Wesley returned to the city, but he couldn't forget the village, or the girl from the river. One morning, he came back dressed in fine attire, carrying flowers and gifts. He went straight to Deborah's old home, knelt before the family, and said, "Mother, I have come to ask for Abigail's hand in marriage." Deborah's eyes filled with tears, tears not of sorrow, but of peace. "My child," she whispered, "after all you have suffered, may happiness finally find you." The wedding that followed was the most beautiful the village had ever seen. Drums echoed across the hills, palm wine flowed like water, and even Mama Grace cried, saying, "Ah, this is love, true love that even the gods respect." The entire village danced until sunrise. After the wedding, Wesley took Abigail to the city. Together they built a life of peace and kindness. She helped him manage his business, her calm wisdom guiding his every decision. Amelia stayed in the village, building a beautiful house for their mother, who lived long enough to see both her daughters happy again. Every year, Wesley and Abigail returned to the same river, not with fear, but with gratitude. They would lay flowers on the water, whispering prayers of thanks. One evening, as the sky glowed orange, Abigail stood at the river's edge. Her hair danced in the wind. "Thank you, great goddess," she whispered, "for giving me a second life." The river rippled gently, as if answering her. Amelia, smiling beside her, said, "Maybe the goddess is proud of us now." Abigail laughed softly. "I just hope she doesn't ask me to turn into a fish again." They both laughed until tears rolled down their cheeks. Wesley walked up behind them, wrapping his arms around both sisters. "I don't care what happens," he said quietly. "You will always be my miracle." And as the sun sank behind the trees, their reflections shimmered on the water, a family born of love, forgiveness, and faith. Headphone. And so, dear listener, what would you have done if you were Amelia? Would you keep feeding the fish, even when the world laughed at you? Moral of the story: promises made to the divine must be kept, for every gift has a purpose. Love is stronger than curses. And what the world calls foolish may one day be remembered as a miracle.